Hello and welcome to another episode of the Accountant Success Secrets podcast. I'm Philippa Haynes of Insight 101.
And I'm Mark Lee of Bookmark Lee. This is our 40th episode and our interview. So you're very privileged, Hayley. We'll come to you in a moment.
Yeah, and I believe we've had over 3,000 downloads now, so that's not bad, is it? Anyway, through our podcast, we aim to showcase and celebrate successful accountants who've been running their own practice for a good few years and who we think can inspire and encourage other accountants in practice around the UK.
We ask them to share their stories, including the highs, the lows, and what they've learned along the way. Our aim is to provide some fundamental insights for you, our loyal listener. And if you'd like to share your story in a similar way, do please get in touch with Philippa or me. We're now taking bookings into February 2025. Amazing.
Yeah, it'll come around quickly though. Okay, so today's podcast is sponsored by Pinnacle, a trusted outsourcing partner with well over 120 clients across the UK and Ireland. Pinnacle's CEO, Mayank Pandya, is a chartered accountant based in London, and he has a passion to encourage innovation and excellence in the accounting profession. Pinnacle has offices in the UK and offshore delivery centres across India, employing over 250 high-quality staff. With a strong focus on quality assurance, Pinnacle has helped many UK accounting firms to scale their capacity and operations. So to find out more, please visit www.pinnacleoss.co.uk. You'll also find the link online wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And I'm going for lunch later with Mayank. So
oh, lovely.
Coincidence, we're recording the same day. Our guest today is Hayley Meagher of Butlers Chartered Accountants in Leonce, which is in Essex. We're the team that's grown to 9 professionals. They provide conventional accounting services as well as acting as business development mentors. Hayley decided to set up her own practice because she wanted to do more than work anonymously on numbers, and she wanted to form lasting professional relationships, meaning that she could preempt issues and be of genuine service to her clients while they get on doing what they do best. Hayley, is there anything else you'd like us to add? This was about 10 years ago now?
Yeah, probably kind of about 13 or 14 years ago. We're now 10 members of staff. We started a new person last week. So we are up. Other than that, all the information's really good, really, relevant. That's what we are.
Largely taken from your website, which will need an update for your news.
Definitely. No. Put that on my list.
Okay, so as you know, we aim to keep the podcast to around 30 minutes, and we do that by focusing the discussion around a few key questions.
And I'll start with a combination, which we alluded to just now in the introduction. What attracted you to start up your own practice, and how did you go about doing that?
Okay. I'm from a family of business owners. So my family have always had their own businesses, and I got into accountancy from A-levels. I was quite lucky, and a chartered firm in Leonce took on 3 of us from A-level. They'd never done that before, and pushed us quite quickly straight through BPP education.
I did the same. I went A-levels and BPP a long time before you, I imagine.
Exactly. And we were looking back on it, we were really, really lucky because most other firms are putting people through AAT first. And this meant that we came out chartered at 22. So we were 22 and chartered and could really get under the table and start to learn what we were doing. Really, the deciding factor for me once qualifying was I didn't want to work in the city. I valued very much having a rounded life of work, play and charitable things. And so I had this main aim, which is still my main aim 15 years later, which is very simple, is I wanted to eat more meals with my children a week than other people fed them. And that was the line that underpinned everything. And it's still the thing that sits on my desk. So I'd got into a lot of audit, Mark. I was doing a lot of audit locally. And I just wasn't enjoying audit. You're always the baddie, aren't you, when you're an auditor? And I was traipsing around the country doing audit. And I just made the decision quite spur of the moment, actually, in a lunch break, and said to my husband, can you keep me for a year? And he said, I think so. And I said, fine. And I quit. And I just quit.
Wow.
And I decided that I would go and do bookkeeping as a part-time job. And I got a bookkeeping job for 3 days a week. And whether it's fate or whatever, but it turned out that the bookkeeping firm, the company, had a backer, and he was a big CEO in the city. And he was also a chartered accountant. And when he found out that a chartered accountant was sitting doing bookkeeping, he rung me up, which apparently had never happened before, and said, what are you doing? Send a member of staff. And I didn't have a member of staff. So I quickly got a member of staff. And he rung me up and said, actually, there's this company and 3 others, and they've all audits and they're all things. I've told the accountants that you can have the year ends, and they're coming to you. I like your spirit. Wow. And so it was just, we were off, really. Yeah. So yes, I decided that it would give me that main aim of being able to feed my own child and have meals around the table that were important to me, and also just control what I was doing, when I was doing it, and how I was doing it, and be able to just not be doing audit all the time and be more relevant.
I love that, partly because as soon as you said you took a job 3-day-a-week bookkeeping, I thought, you just qualified as a chartered accountant. Nothing wrong with doing bookkeeping, but you go through all of that study probably for most people to do more than bookkeeping.
Well, I was 8 or 9 years post qualification, but I was So I qualified at 22. I was less than that. I was probably at 5 years afterwards. But what I thought was, if you're going to take a risk, sometimes you've got to take a step back to go forward. Yeah, and I saw it as I'd never worked in industry. Yeah. So actually, it would give me more relevant skills of understanding clients if I had to go and do that. And it was an aviation company, so it was quite technical to do. But no, it was. And soon
you were flying.
Yes, but slowly. I mean, everything's hard work, and I'm not one of these people who frivolously takes risks. I'm very much. It's slow and steady, controlled, and making sure that, if you're going to make a mistake, yes, it impacts you, but it does impact others. And in fact, to minimise, making sure that if you do make mistakes as you learn, that you're not causing devastation to clients and their lives. Yeah. So yes, I part-time, and then did the usual networking, ringing around, getting out and meeting people.
Makes a lot of sense. And I think on the not taking risks bit, I've never been sure whether people like us are attracted to accountancy because we don't like taking risks, or whether it's the training to become a chartered accountant that makes us more risk averse than we might otherwise be. Plenty of accountants who aren't risk averse, of course. But
yeah, it's interesting. We've already talked about quite a few learnings. Certainly you've got to step back a little bit to step forward, which I think I really love that. But what else have you sort of gleaned over the last few years then? I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I learned from other jobs, definitely from other bosses, and I always say, every boss you've worked for, good or bad, have taught you something. And when team members leave me, which isn't often, I always say to them, you might think I'm horrible or whatever reasons you're going is great, but please take something from what you've learned about me and how we do things that benefit you. And what I learned is to be completely open with your team. So my team all have access to our records, our bookkeeping records. They know what the company bills, they know what profit we make, they know, because they need to be commercially minded. Otherwise, there can be resentment in the office. So definitely learned that from day one. And part of that was also me being able to delegate. I can't delegate everything I don't want to do if my team haven't got access to it. So we're very open. I think I also learned that not everyone's me. And that comes from my partner is, I can work 100 miles an hour, and I can probably do one of my members of team's work in 3 hours and be done and go home. But sometimes I have to really kind of make sure they've got the right tools and the skills and step away and just leave them and accept they're not going to do it as quick as I will do it. And that has been a struggle as the business has gone on, because you are trying to grow and you know you're over capacity a little bit and you want to push things forward quickly, but having to let your staff have the time and the scope to do that.
Yeah. And what's the benefit of that then? Because obviously there is a benefit, because you could be going faster, you could be processing it quicker, getting more money in, etc. But obviously there's a downside to that. So what's the upside of giving the, stepping away from the staff and letting them get on with it?
Well, the benefits are that my team understand how the business runs top to tail. Yeah. They know what's expected. They know how clients like to react. They all have access to my inbox. Yeah. Everyone in our office has access to my email. So there's no secrets in our office. And what that means is that everybody can serve the clients. And if something happens to me, the business goes on and gives me the space to deal with. And it's worked. I mean, those that do know me will know that I'm a big advocate for lymphoma because I had blood cancer 5 years ago. And I thought, the business has had it done. And what the business actually did was double its turnover in the year that I was in and out of hospital all the time. And what happened was my team went, well, hang on a minute, we've got all the tools we need, but what we don't have is the decision making. Yeah. So we'll do it, and all we need her for is the decision making. So the benefit of it is that your staff are capable and they feel more invested if you do let them engage in what's happening all the way through. I mean, obviously, I do keep really in contact with my team. We are all office based, apart from one person, which I know is not a popular thing at the moment.
Except at the moment, aren't you all remote at the moment?
Well, we are in a temporary office whilst our office is being built, but we are all still on site working together. And I believe that collaboration, I'm old school and you can shoot me as a dinosaur, but I think I couldn't work with my team all being remote. I love the fact we're all together. I love the fact we support each other and that we overhear things and people come in and step in and help and all their knowledge is shared. We do not gatekeep at Butlers. If you know how to do something, show someone else how to do it. And I don't think we could get that for being a remote team.
Well, and in fact, you would know whether that worked for you because you had a year or two of that through the pandemic, didn't you? How did you
So I mean, we had all the tools to work remotely because obviously if people do need to do that, for instance, we do have all the tools. We're completely, all our computers are based like that and phones and everything. We moved out of the office to home over COVID. My team detested it. I think there was about 3 weeks and one member of staff who did our payroll said, can I go back and work in the office on my own? Because I don't want to be at home. I can't stand it. Yeah. And we actually met every single morning remotely. But the first moment we could get back in the office, my team were back. They wanted to be back. And they were 100%. Everyone was back in straight away. Yeah, so we can do it if we have to. If the snow comes down in Essex today, then it's not a problem. But we choose not to at the moment.
Yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful. If we move on, what mistakes are you prepared to admit to that we all make mistakes?
We do.
Yeah, I trained in audit as well, and I quickly moved across to tax when I qualified. I remember the first talk I delivered for a recruitment company. My first line was, "I hate auditing." It wasn't a mistake to do auditing. You had to do that in those days because every company, however small, needed an audit. That changed enormously. So I admire you for doing audits as long as you did. But having started your practice, what mistakes did you make and learn from?
I had a good think about this because most people go, oh, I didn't price high enough and I didn't do this. And I've got a very unique view on pricing, which we'll park for the moment. But the biggest thing we had was we ran very lean. And I agree that was the right decision. Now, I think there's too many people who want all the bells and whistles because they think they should. And actually, they're just trying to do work to pay for the bells and whistles. But what we did do is we do use Iris Suite, and we really, really do enjoy our Iris Suite and its capabilities. But we did cut corners with it. And rather than at the beginning trying to just use parts of it and then tag on other softwares to cut costs, and it took a deep breath and this is just not worth the effort. So I think we should have stepped in quicker and just said, we'll have all of Iris Suite and that's what we're going to use. And we learned from that. And if you look at our firm and I look at other people who are constantly changing software, it fills me with the shakes a little bit, because I think a waste of time and money in the upheaval. So definitely we should have just taken the leap in and gone into one software straight away. The other thing was I didn't delegate our own bookkeeping and fee billing quick enough. I kept it that I was doing it all.
Oh gosh, yes.
Worst decision I could ever have done. And in fact, at the moment that one of our ladies, she actually decided to retire, and that lasted 6 weeks until she missed us and then said, can I come back?
That's brilliant.
Yeah, she retired and we gave her a big party and balloons and everyone came with flowers and cake. And 6 weeks later, she said, I think I've made a terrible decision. Can I come back? She came back as our internal finance, and that's all she does 3 days a week. And since then, our recovery rates are far higher. Our bad debts are down. Everything is more under control. So it was definitely a case of that should have been one of the first things that I just got rid of and said, why am I not getting someone else to do this? And the final mistake we made is I'm somebody who sometimes people will just be swept up in yes. So people will say, we've decided you're going to be our accountant. And now I'm getting older, I'm realising more that I probably should have gone, that's really nice, but I haven't decided to be your accountant yet.
I had a job offer like that, and it was like, I don't really want this job.
We've been swept up in a few clients who have just decided that we are their accountants. And in my spirit of, I want everybody to help me and we can help them, I go, yes, when really I probably should have sat down and gone, actually, I need to woe them off a little bit and say, I'm not really, whoa, slow down. But really, other than that, they are the big 3 things I think that if we could change, we would. But everything else, I think if you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. You just go, oh dear, never mind. Let's move on.
Yeah, kind of, I kind of get a sense of quite a strong culture within the business. And yeah.
Well, we won Employer of the Year in our borough last year. So up against some really large companies, and I was stunned. And we're very proud of that.
That is brilliant. Yeah. So how does that translate then to the client? So, if we were to ask them, what would they say about Butlers and how it's unique, or, just what they get from you?
I think what we run quite uniquely is I structured the entire firm that everybody at the moment, and we're going to get to the size bigger where this is not going to work and we're going to have to reconsider. But at the moment, everybody in the firm knows who roughly every client is. All our bookkeeping work's worked on a trickle continuously. So there's no pick the job up because it's come in, do it, get it done. It's all continuous, which means that if any client calls up and says, I need help with this, they should have an instant answer, because it's not, I'm sorry, this person isn't here today, or this person's working from home and they're somewhere walking their dog. It's a case of whoever picks up the phone, we try and have the culture that you solve the problem before putting the phone down. And that don't create a future Hayley problem, which I've written on the wall, means that our clients, if they need us, they're generally going to get the answer when they need it. And if they can't have the answer when they need it, they get explained why that needs the person that's not there. And how long it will take them when they'll get it. So I think our clients really appreciate the fact that everybody in the team knows about them.
Awesome.
And what were you trying to achieve there? That sounds like a stupid question, but sometimes the answer isn't exactly what you expected. So why did you choose that sort of trickle, and why did you choose to open everything up to the team?
Because a business can't run if you're the bottleneck. You're going to explode. And I'd seen bosses I'd worked for die of heart attacks whilst working for them. And I turned around, and part of it, I said, well, why? Why do we do it like this? Why do we only pick up this bookkeeping job each quarter and do 3 months of it? And then suddenly someone wants a week off at quarter end and you can't do it. If you actually step back and go, right, what is stressful about our job is the deadlines. and the time pressure of the deadlines, and you actually go, but the data's there. So why are we doing it each quarter? Is it because we're behind? Then actually, if you tackle that problem, you're never behind. So all our VAT returns, for instance, we're very proud at the moment, our VAT returns are out 14 to 17 days before the deadline with clients. Now, that's not because they've bought them in and we're quickly doing them. It's because it's constant trickle. The boys work on a cycle through all our bookkeeping jobs continuously. So we always systemize with how can we get rid of the massive deadlines, because that's the stressful part of our job. Every accountant knows that Christmas is wrecked and January, you can't be a skier, can you, if you're an accountant? Because January you're doing tax returns. So we've always been working towards, if everybody's involved, then if someone's on holiday, they don't come back to a backlog, and therefore they hit the ground running again to move forwards. And that's what the thinking is behind trying to do that.
And does that, I applaud you for that, because I think it makes enormous sense. Does that also enable you, or does that contribute to you being described on your website business development mentors? You're in touch with the numbers, you can give clients advance notice if there's issues. Is it about that? Is it about something else?
Definitely. I mean, we when a lot of the complaints we had in the first instance, right back at the beginning, were, oh, I get big lists of missing information. We all know it's a pain, don't we? And we always take those things and try and tackle those things with, well, they hate that. So what would I want? Well, I'd rather have a live schedule hosted on SharePoint that's got a rolling missing list that's live, that every time someone spots something missing, they stick it on there and they get an automated reminder it's there every 2 weeks, rather than constant emails saying, can I have the Costa receipt from 6 months ago? We all know the pain, but it does. Yeah, I've forgotten what you asked me now, Mark.
Okay.
So have I.
To me a lot. It was whether that, doing the bookkeeping.
Oh yes, I'm there. I'm back.
Okay.
Yes, it does, because what we realised was when clients rang up and said, where are we? Could we do? A lot of them don't want management accounts because their zeros is up to date. They can pull stuff off. If they did come and say, where are we? What are we doing? It was always, we know, because we have a control schedule. I know when every single job is bank rec 2. I know when it's all locked down, when the last time every control account was reconciled. And I can say to a client, your system's down up to the end of October, so I can give you reports to that point. And they like the fact that we can rely on that data instantly. And we do kind of give quite... We always say clients do complain, I think, a lot when they come to us of, I asked my accountant for advice and they tell me the facts, but they never tell me what they would do.
Yeah.
And I think I'm quite the opposite. I sometimes turn around and go, you could do this or this, I'd do that, but it is your decision. And I think they want that help, because if they knew the answers, they wouldn't be asking me.
That's the power, and I see that again and again. It's kind of, sometimes you just need to shortcut the process and say, these are the options, this is kind of what I do, which is what you've said, rather than start trying to pull it out of somebody. And they just kind of want your expertise, don't they?
They what they want is you to help them make the decisions and to give them the facts and then make the informed decision, but they don't know. And I think what they want is that person who's got them and says, look, I'm with you on this. What are we going to do? But yes, having the data up to date has made a massive difference. I had a client ring yesterday and said, I need an urgent meeting. 2 hours later, I'm down in Canvey Island with live figures that are correct as of a week ago. And it's a massive help.
And I guess this advice, I mean, we all talk about advice, certainly, and advisory, etc., within accounting and bookkeeping. But I think there's a difference between saying what you think the numbers mean and then applying that to a business and having that business understanding and that intelligence to be able to go, if I were you, I'd do that. What do you think?
I think because of the size we are at the moment, I personally know pretty much everything about every one of our clients.
How many? Sorry, just for the sake of the listener, how many clients would you have across the practice?
We've got about 175 at the last count. I don't know, limited companies, about 40 charities, and then obviously sole traders on top, probably 100, 150.
Yeah.
So at the moment, because I know who they all are and the information's there and my team are there, we are there. As we grow in the next 18 months, there's going to come a point where Deborah and Emma, who are my right and left hands, as I say, they're both highly experienced. They're going to come to the point where, as new clients join now, they're going to have to be managed by one or the other, because it's coming to the point where not even I can remember the children of every single client. So it's lovely at the moment and it's achievable at the moment, but I've recognised that there has to be change coming. And how do we keep our next challenges, keeping that relationship and knowledge with the support of the others? And my friend laughed the other day and just said to me, well, that's just Devil Meets Prada, isn't it? She's always got the two behind her that know the facts in her ear. So having the right people behind you that can whisper to you that, that is going to be really important.
I think you're right. But of course, the other option is to say, well, actually, we don't want to grow any bigger. We're doing well enough. We're all paid well. We're all earning well. Let's keep things the way they are and ensure that we replace lost clients with good new ones, but don't grow any bigger because we'd lose what we have.
I think it's nice to hear that, because I think there's too much noise online and, as I call it, distracting sparkly glitter.
Yeah.
Around people saying you've got to be bigger, you've got to be bigger, you've got to be bigger. And if anyone, we have a little Essex accounting ladies lunch, and a lot of them do come up to me and go, oh, I'm being pulled this way and that way. And I turn around and go, but why? What are you trying to achieve? Yeah. And for us, we've got a very clear plan, which is at the moment when someone leaves, it's painful. If we can get up to 12 staff, if someone leaves, it doesn't become quite so painful. because one person's work can be spread between 11, but at the moment it's a big impact. So we have a clear growth plan to get us up to 12, and then I'm not building another office. Yeah. So, and I can only fit 12 in this one, so that's where we're going to be.
And I've heard that so many times. People in smaller offices as well saying much the same sort of thing. We're as big as we can afford to be without having uncomfortable growing pains, which won't see anybody earning any more, just see us doing more. So good on you on having a plan and knowing how big you want to be.
Thank you.
What are the other secrets to your success?
I think one of them we touched on, which was just be lean on luxuries when you're starting, just because everybody else has got this software, that software, everything going, you don't need it. Really rely on people. I mean, I've got friends who are partners in top firms. I've got friends in firms everywhere. When I started, they can always say no, but I used to text them and say, oh, have you been on your tax update course internally yet? Yep. Don't suppose I could have a look at the notes, could I? Those kind of things. And if they work in a big firm and they're internal stuff, I'm sure that they'll meet you for lunch and let you read through the notes. Everyone's there to support each other. We have a triangle of improvement I work with. So my secret's always been to remove the constant drag of trying to move on, because it's draining, isn't it? You're constantly trying to develop. Is we always invest in the team, then we invest in the infrastructure, then we invest in me. And we go round in a triangle. So we've bought a new office, we've invested in the infrastructure, we've just brought somebody else on, that's investing in the team. And the next thing will be for me. And it's not always monetary. Sometimes I have a month off. And I go, well, actually, next February, I'm having February off. And the team work towards that they know I'm not going to be there. So that way, I know that my turn's coming. And the team know that their turn's coming. And we know where we are. It's not a constant black hole of what do we do next.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the whole thing shouts kind of pragmatism. But I mean, pragmatism, not boring. I mean... clarity, kind of real focus, and kind of that kind of resoluteness or whatever. I don't know whether that's a word, but you know,
people-led professionalism.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, something like that. But it has, that's what culture, people talk about culture, and it's one of those words that's quite soft, and you know, what does it really mean? But I think you've talked quite clearly about what it means, and how it kind of turns up day to day, which is you don't go bells and whistles, you don't go glittery, you're very transparent, everybody can look at what you're doing, you know, you empower everybody, there's that trickle down, so that there's never that sort of on off, which obviously creates kind of obstacles and stuff. So for me, it's just a really kind of pragmatic, well run, well thought through organization.
We're a machine, and I think the problem is that some accountants get swept up in the they forget they've got to produce work. I know that sounds a really stupid thing to say, but a lot of the people who come to me and go, Hayley, you've got all your stuff together and you're so calm, and I go, but remember, the work's got to go out the door, and you've got to read the post coming in. And if you read the post coming in and get the work out the door, everything else is secondary, really, to me. And I think it can be hard to say no. I think people go, oh, I want to go to Accountex, I want to go to the digital accounting training, I want to go here, I want to go there. And you think, but you've just taken 2 weeks out of your life. What was the point of going? Why were you going? If it was to get in a new software, wonderful. I always have a shopping list when I go there. But you know, work to live, isn't it? Not live to work. Yeah. You've got to structure it to do what you want. And when the working day's over, you need to put it down.
I think that is wise words at the end of what has been a really kind of enlightening kind of 30 minutes or more. And I'm always sad when we have to go, because I think we could just eke it out to 45 minutes, but but it works at the moment. Always leave people wanting more, is what they say, isn't it? So, yeah. I mean, for those who love what they hear from you today, how is it best to get in touch with you and your team?
Okay, so LinkedIn, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can pop my name in, it's quite unusual. And also Facebook. I know I'm quite a dinosaur. I say I'm a dinosaur. I love Facebook because I find it far more engaging than LinkedIn. So you can hop onto Facebook, connect with me, hop onto LinkedIn and connect with me. Happy to chat to people and things like that. And if anybody is in Essex and they fancy lunch, once a month, at the moment it's ladies, but we're not ruling out men. We kind of meet up every month, every other month, and we just have lunch all together. And it's really, really nice. It's nice to just be out there and meeting and people, and just have that space where we just go, offload. But yeah, happy to speak to anyone. I hope people find something useful. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, pleasure. I'm absolutely sure that they will, Hayley. I've loved this, partly because there's little overlaps in our early backgrounds, but I just love the way that you run your practice, and it's brilliant that you've had the success that you have, and congrats on Employer of the Year for your local area as well.
Thank you. We've moved out of the district now, so now the battle's on to win it in Southend now, isn't it? So, can't defend my title next year.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that. Philippa, how can listeners find out more about you and your Business Insight 101?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn, because I do like LinkedIn, and I'm not a massive fan of Facebook. Or you can find me on my website, insight101.co.uk, and you can book a call there and we can chat through. Essentially, what I do is find out that secret sauce that Hayley has dollops of, and then creates that into, their messaging, their marketing, their brand, their website, so that everything says what it really should and conveys that really strong message. So Hayley's got a strong message. The listeners out there may not have found theirs yet. That's what I'm all about. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, and you've got at least 2 or 3 award-winning clients as well, which is
I have. I have, and I'm very proud. I don't think necessarily it was all my doing, but I was certainly a bit of a catalyst there. So
I'm sure that's right. Well,
tell us
online
about your Soul
everywhere.
Practice Club, Mark. Come on.
Online everywhere. I'm Bookmark Lee. Even my business card. Not that I give many out. If you ever see me anywhere, always ask for one, because I've still got loads to give away. But sorry, excuse me. I tend to support accountants who've been running their own practice a while, but feel that they could benefit from an experienced, non-judgmental sounding board. These accountants who value my caring, pragmatic and commercial approach. This is what clients tell me, as well as the support, encouragement, guidance and advice I'm only too pleased to share. I'm always happy, like you, Philippa, to have an initial conversation with no obligation, expectation or pushy sales technique. And if you don't want to grow, I won't encourage you to either. Good point Hayley made there. And I'm active on LinkedIn and on Facebook because I go where my prospective clients are, which is the advice I give accountants as well. You're getting all the business, all the fun you want from Facebook. You can stay there. If you want to chase the people who are on LinkedIn, it's worth being there. Not necessarily posting a lot. Mark, stop giving a LinkedIn lecture. I can hear.
Yes. Did you see my eye roll? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, just before we go, our thanks again to the sponsor of this episode, Pinnacle Global Group, your trusted outsourcing partner. Do check out their website and let their CEO, Mayank, know that you heard about Pinnacle Global on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share the love online, subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or YouTube. And obviously, let us have your feedback too.
Absolutely. It all helps to potentially broaden the reach of the podcast. And do also please contact either Philippa or me if you would like to be interviewed on a future podcast in February onwards, or if there's someone you'd like to recommend that we interview. Hayley, thank you so much again. Philippa, thank you too. And until next time on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, or anywhere else we may meet online or in real life, bye-bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye.